This Acura wasn't even scheduled. It broke down on the road and was dropped off here at the shop for us to figure out what the hell went wrong. Let's find out. Let's get started. This is a 2006 Acura RL, and it's in pretty decent shape, but like I just mentioned, it wasn't even scheduled to show up. They just had an issue. The car stopped running, they broke down, and we came here Monday morning and it was in our parking lot. Now, we normally don't take drop-offs like that. We do by appointment only here at Omega. But we've had some bad weather lately and we had some cancellations, so we had a couple openings. We went ahead and took it in. Normally we wouldn't. This one came in with a claim that the transmission was locked up and the engine won't start. This customer's not really wanting an estimate, they're just wanting to know what's wrong with their car. We're going to show you today, kind of one of the things I want to go over is why we don't do estimates here. This car is a perfect example. It won't start, you can't do anything with it. Supposedly the transmission's locked up, the engine won't turn over. And it happened as they were going down the road. So before I get Danielson out here and show us exactly what we found, let's take a look around this thing. So this RL has seen some better days. It's got some chips and some scratches. The chrome is peeling, the headlights are a little foggy, but it doesn't look terrible. It's still got a lot of life left in it once this issue is fixed. We come down the side, the wheels are a little dirty, the tires are, they're fair, but we don't see any rust going on. We don't see any major dents on this side. And around the back, you can see Acura RL SH all-wheel drive. And same story on the other side. Let's go ahead and have Mrs. Wizard show you guys the interior on this thing.
So welcome, ladies and gents, and this is all you're going to get at that gauge cluster because I can't turn it on really, and even if I were able to turn it on, it doesn't do anything because this is such a mess. But very nice, easy gauge cluster. Looks like so many we've seen other places. I do like the blue accents. That is lovely. Blue is my favorite color after all. But I guarantee you're going to see a few features in this car you have never seen in any other vehicle in your life. So let's go ahead and take a look at the dash. Have a little bit of a test strip there, which we're going to be using in just a few moments with the Wizard, but otherwise dash is looking good. Everything is in good shape, no real crazy marks or anything like that, looking good. Nice infotainment system there. When it does turn on and can turn on, it asks for a code, and that's as far as you get. Do have some wood trim below, and here's the element that you'll have never seen in your life. No, it is not that vent, it is this. What happened? Did somebody spontaneously combust in the passenger seat and made that bubble up? I can't tell you, but I can tell you I've never ever seen whatever happened to this glove box in my life. Luckily, it is just a glove box door, it looks like, so it could be easily replaced if they wanted, but you know, it is a nice conversation piece for your passenger, or maybe just scare the crap out of them thinking they might spontaneously combust over there. If we look at our center area, you'll see we have some nice HVAC controls. We've got lots of buttons and buttons for the radio and for everything else. I love this. Just so you know, that is not an ashtray. I like how they put that in there. It is not an ashtray. It must have a little cup in there, but again, they're doing more testing and taking out that little cup where I guess you can put coins. Okay. As we move back, you'll see we've got our creature comfort buttons for the heated seats. We've got our gear selector. Have a little bit of a cup holder. Looks like it's got a bit of a science experiment going on down there, but you know, nothing good old scrubbing can't take care of. So look at our seats. Well, it does have a seat cover on it, so maybe that does go in line with that spontaneous combustion theory. Don't know, but don't know if that leather's good or not underneath, but that's what the customer wants on there, so we're gonna leave it. Door card is lots of charcoal with a little bit more of that wood grain that does wrap around from the scary glove box door all the way to that armrest. But the wood is in really nice shape though. And we get to the back seat and we see a little bit of tearing there on that seat. Maybe car seat on there, something, maybe something was back there, but unfortunately a little bit of a tear on that driver's side rear seat. Do have some interior pieces in the back seat, but again, that's just holding it there looking good. Headliner's in good shape, not sagging. You can see lots of buttons and buttons and buttons and more buttons, and some of them, especially on this side, are starting to look a little worn and aged. So definitely this car has been used and loved, but there's something really scary going on. Let's get under the hood and see what's going on.
Here we are with the VTEC, yo. Mad diesel. It's a 3.5 liter V6, very good Honda Acura engine, but that's not our concern. So the customer said the transmission is locked up. So we're like, okay, it got here, we kind of push it into the shop, we know that it rolls, it's not locked up that way. Let's check the fluid. It's full and it's still red. It may be time for a service, but let's see if it smells burned. No, smells like good clean transmission fluid. Actually put this on a lift and we were able to spin it. Like I said, we're able to get it into neutral and the transmission's not locked up. So we called the customer and it's like, well, so what do you mean here? What are you talking about? The transmission is locked. We're not seeing that. And they said, no. What I mean is it won't come out of park. It's like, so this is why we don't do estimates. If we would have given them an estimate for a locked up transmission, we would have supposed that it needs a reman transmission or a new transmission. It could have been $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Then it shows up, oh, there was nothing wrong with the transmission. It just won't come out of park. So we like to get the vehicles in the shop. And again, this customer did not need an estimate. They just want to know what's wrong. But I'm giving you guys an instance of why we don't do them. So this is what we do know now. It happened on the highway suddenly. Pulled over to the side of the road. It won't recognize a key. It won't crank. It won't start. And once they got it into the park, they cannot get it back out of park. Because you can't get it out of park doesn't mean your transmission's locked up. It just means you can't get it out of park. The problem with that is in the center console, not in the transmission. Let me go get Danielson and show you all the steps we went through. We figured out what's wrong, and we can't fix it here. What you got going on over here, Daniel?
Just finishing up the Fiat, pretty much. Getting it ready for tuning and all that stuff.
Man, there's a lot of work into this thing.
Yeah, this, what, 4 months now?
Yeah, and it runs now, huh?
It does run.
He's done a ton of really cool mods to this thing. It's running, driving, working again. But you don't get to see all that work here on the Car Wizards channel. You have to go over to Danielson's channel, start to finish in the video. You guys get to see all the really cool mods he's got on this engine. He's now working on tuning, and you definitely want to subscribe to his channel when you go over there. Go check out Danielson's channel. The link is in the description below. You definitely want to check out this Fiat. It is a completely different animal now. Let's head on over to that Acura.
Yeah.
So here's the Acura RL. You've already diagnosed it and figured out what's wrong, but the customer had mentioned the transmission's locked up. We proved that's not the case.
Yep, no issues with the transmission whatsoever.
So it was having issue, it won't recognize the key, it won't come out of park, it won't start. That's truly what the complaint is.
Yeah.
Once you get down to it and actually talk with the customer, you figured out what's really going on. So you dived in, you started kind of over in that area and worked your way back to the problem. Where did you actually start with?
I actually started at the fuse. So
Fuse, huh?
yeah, the fuse, you know, seeing that there's no, it's not communicating with the key, it's not cranking, it's not doing all these things. I was like, let's start with the fuse. Maybe just, you know, something like the ECU is bad. And I decided, and the fuse is right here underneath the hood. So that was the first thing I checked. And it was blown.
It was blown.
Yes.
So it was under this cover here. And which one was it?
It is this one right here, which is missing right now.
Yeah. And that one is fuse 8, FI-ECU is what it says. So you put a new fuse in, it blew right away?
Yes.
That's when the fun begins. I have to track down all this wiring, exactly what's going on. So where did you go from there?
Actually, I went straight to the manual to see what the diagram had to say. And that wire, the wire that goes straight to that fuse, goes directly to a body control module inside of the car.
And you have actually a really cool tool I was watching you use. Let's show them guys how it works. This is like a snap-on Blue Point, what's it say? Fuse saver?
Yeah, it is a fuse saver.
Okay.
So instead of just putting fuses in there to see if you fix a problem and they keep popping and you're just throwing them away, you can use something like this, which is reusable, and it's also very safe for the car as long as you don't go too high above what the rated amperage is for that fuse.
Right. Let's plug it in and see what it does.
So first, we'll plug it in, and then you have to turn the key on.
Okay, I'll go turn it on.
Then we'll see this little switch. It'll pop. So you can see it popped. So that means that we have a short on that circuit.
So what we got going on here is not just some slow short. It blows the fuse like right now.
Yes.
It's bad.
It's a
really
bad one.
bad. And you traced the wiring, went all through, followed the diagram. Where did you end up?
I ended up at the ECU, at the powertrain control module in this case.
Okay, and that is the fuse on the diagram. That fuse basically just supplies the powertrain control module, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And then I guess let's find out where that's at. Let's go take a look. Man, it looks like on the glove box there was a fuego going on there.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
I don't know what happened there, but so all that wiring down there is actually the ECU. It's under the center console down there.
Oh yeah, they buried it in there. It's hard to
Wow.
get.
It's way down there.
Yeah, that red wire is a temporary wire that I'm using because I had to cut the wire to see if I could stop the short, which as soon as I cut that wire, it did stop the short.
So that's a supply wire to the ECU, and when you remove it, the short goes away.
Yes.
So the only thing left is the ECU itself is bad.
Yes. In this case, the reason I cut the wire was to isolate the wire, and then I supplied 12 volts directly to the ECU, and it still popped the fuse. So that tells me that the one causing the short is the ECU, not the wire.
So now we have the culprit. It has nothing to do with transmissions at all. That's how you can get confused and taken down the wrong path really fast. Has a bad computer. Thank you, Danielson, for showing us what's wrong. It's exactly kind of what we thought, but we wanted to prove it for sure, and we definitely proved it. It's definitely what is wrong using these really cool tools. He got to the bottom of it actually very fast. And make sure to go check out Danielson's channel in the link below to go check out that sweet Fiat. He is actually almost done with it. So I'll let you go back to break, and I will tell you guys what the next steps are. So now we know the answer to what's wrong with this Acura. My car broke down while I was on the highway. I pulled over to the side, got the thing in park, and it was dead. It won't come out of park, it won't start, it won't do anything. Not a locked up transmission. One thing that makes sense is the computer internal circuitry, something inside of there short-circuited and fried. It blew the fuse, all those systems went down. It makes perfect sense now. That's why it won't start. It won't go out of park, not because anything's locked up. It won't go out of park because the computer has not released the mechanism to allow it to come out of park because the computer is dead. So like I mentioned a minute ago, this is where you can go down a rabbit hole and go completely in the wrong direction and waste a lot of time. You really have to get back with the customer, and sometimes customers get annoyed. You're going over the same scenario. Okay, so you broke down. Tell me what happened. Tell me what's the next step. What happened after that? We need to know all that information because then it helps us go, okay, so this is where we need to look. Unfortunately, putting a new computer in this won't solve it because there's a next step that we can't do here, and that is programming a new computer to the car. Also, the keys may have to be programmed to the computer. Those things are really, a dealer should be doing those items. Now, if I only worked on Acuras or just Japanese vehicles only, it may be worth it to go buy these tools and be able to program. But here's the thing. The amount of times that I need to program a computer is about 2 or 3 times a year. That does not validate the expenditure of thousands of dollars for the equipment, getting all the licensing and everything paid for through the car manufacturer so that you can download their software. And also we work on tons of different makes and models. So many. Anything from a Ferrari down to a Kia. Think of all the years, all the makes, all the models of cars, and they all have their own software, their own scan tool, diagnostic type things going on. We can't have everything for every car. Now this is a 2006, but the modern cars today are even worse. It's going to get even worse than that. This hurts the small-time independent mechanic because now they're having stereos and window motors, and everything needs to be programmed. It needs to be security programmed by a dealer. And they're starting to even lock it down where you can't even purchase the service. You have to go to the dealer, especially on a Tesla. And the vice versa of that is difficult as well because the dealers don't want to work on your old car. Most of the technicians are 18, 19, 20, 22 years old. They weren't even they were babies when these were on the road brand new. They don't know them because they were young. They didn't learn them. And the dealerships just don't want to take them on. They don't want to spend the time. They don't want to mess with it. They end up, the way they do things, they'll end up losing money. So they look at your car, your '06 Acura, and they go, this is a negative profit, we won't make a dime, so I don't want to work on your car. I'm not interested at all. So it kind of gets in a conundrum where they don't want to work on it. We can't work on it. You'll end up having to find a specialty shop that only works on Asian vehicles. They have Asian software only for those specific vehicles. They don't work on Ferraris, Lamborghinis, McLarens, all these different, Rolls-Royce. They only work on this type of a vehicle. You have to find that person. They may be able to program it, but we're going to send them to the dealer because it's not some major rebuild or anything. They just need to get a computer, put it in, and program it. They should be able to do that. I would think so. Now, how much is that going to cost? I'm not sure at the dealer. The computer itself could be $1,000. Then you got the programming and the labor. I wouldn't be surprised if it could approach $2,000 dealer pricing at an Acura dealer. Maybe less, hopefully less. They're going to have to decide if they want to spend that on this car. They will have to take that up with the dealership they take it to. We've gone as far as we can here at Omega, but what we do have here is the answer. We now know why it failed on them going down the road. We know exactly why. Because the engine computer has electrically failed internally. So we'll give the customer the bad news. They'll have to get it towed to a dealer and then go from there, and hopefully they can get a new one programmed. They'll be back on the road. But luckily it doesn't have a locked up transmission because, oh my God, that would be 3 times the cost of this computer. So definitely wanted to do a video for you guys and let you know about Danielson's channel and the really cool Fiat project he has going on. Definitely go check that out. We wanted to show you this Acura, how just the first initial phone call from a customer can take you in the wrong direction really fast. And what it ended up actually being. If you're curious what kind of tools we use here in the shop on these cars, check out our Amazon affiliates link in the description below as well. If you purchase anything there, we get a small cut and we really appreciate it. Make sure to hit the subscribe button as well because there's many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching.